Hello everyone, this is Dr. Rahim from the National University of Malaysia, Bangi, Selangor, Malaysia. I'm a senior lecturer and criminologist attached in Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities, the National University of Malaysia. My field of interest is criminology, whereby I'm focusing more on criminal behavior, the underlying causes, and as well as criminal psychology. And for today, it is my honor to share one of my research findings with all of you. Let me share the screen with all of you. And yes, today I'm going to deliver on profiles of Malaysian female prisoners. Yeah? And as we know, women are often excluded from the discussion of main topics in the world. Yeah, and women's position and their role and motivation across different sectors in politics, economics, and society at large is not well captured. And this includes their involvement in criminal cases. And as we can see, most of the criminological and sociological studies, they have devoted much time to focus among females as crime victims, yeah? From the victimization point of view. Yeah? But uh, we couldn't deny their involvement in crime. Yeah? And although the criminal act is often associated as a symbol of men, women are also no exception in their involvement as criminal offenders. Crimes that committed by the females, by the women, are not limited to small scales, but day by day, the crime is seen as serious, aggressive, and extreme as well, whereby even personally, I have interviewed female murderers. They have committed more than one murder. Yeah. And for example, a local research by Rahim discussed female as the murder victim. In fact, researchers from the West also stated women are rarely engaged in violent crime. So this is one of the research in 2008. However, the above statements are contrary with the statistics that released by the Malaysian Prison Department. Yeah, according to the statistics, in the year 2016, yeah, female prisoners throughout Malaysia reaching more than 1,400 female convicts. Yeah. And similarly, the prevalence of female criminality is also seen to be a perplexing problem, not only in Malaysia but also in India. This is the study by Soumya Kumar in 2006. And literatures have indicated that women usually engage in narcotic and commercial crimes. But how far this is true in Malaysian context? Yeah. And in terms of reoffending, or from the criminological point of view, we term as recidivism. Greenfeld and Snell in 1999 stated that 65 percentage of female prisoners in United States prisons have previously committed crimes. This is alarming. This is something worrying. And previous findings also suggested that females commit crimes for different motives. Yeah, these are the quite number of studies have suggested that they have various motives for them to commit crime, women. But how far it is true in Malaysian context? Yeah, do they have is is their motive is more on expressive or more on instrumental? Yeah, and in terms of settings of crime, yeah, study by Grenfell and Snell stated that almost half of American women criminals committed crime, especially violent crime, in closed locations such as the victim's home. So whether it is closed or open location, whether at public setting or whether at the remote or within the building, it is unknown at Malaysian context. And past studies, yeah, in terms of what are the underlying factors for criminal behavior by women, they have came up with a long list of literature. In general, most of the underlying factors are inclined towards social or environmental factors or psychological factors. Here, the social environmental factors refers to money shortages, low levels of education, the family or household problems, history of abuse, consumption of illicit substances like drugs. Yeah? And for your information, drugs in Malaysia is seems to be alarming, and it is worrying as well. Yeah, other among the factors, women involvement as a criminal. From the psychological viewpoint, the main factors, sorry, the main factors that cause women to commit crimes are mental disorders and personality disorders. Personality disorders such as antisocial personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, or narcissistic, yeah, seems to be among the prevalent personality disorders among women, among female criminals. And according to few studies, high stress, yeah, distress also seem to be one of the underlying factors why women, why females commit crime. Yeah, most of women who commit crime are associated with personality disorders. Yeah, here personality disorders that are often attributed to crime are antisocial personality, borderline, and narcissistic personality, as I mentioned just now. So here are the other literature studies regarding female criminality from the psychological point of view. For example, a prolonged stress tend to lead to severe depression that also leads to criminal behavior. This is the studies done by a group of researchers. And stress and depression can eventually lead them to exhibit aggressive behavior and eventually lead to criminal acts such as abuse, assault, battery, and so on. And in addition, cognitive impairment, yeah, is likely to be one of the important psychological factors contributing to women's aggressive crime. Previous studies have found that cognitive impairment act as a catalyst for various aggressive behavior. Here, cognitive distortion, yeah, could be one of the domain or one of the factor that act as a root for criminal behavior, and these cognitive distortion, or to elaborate to define, we can call as irrational thinking patterns, actually allows the criminals to justify their act, yeah, and prolong and sustain their criminal act. And although a number of studies, as we can see, have devoted to understand the female criminality, and it is very important, it is very vital for us to offer some insight, yeah, into Malaysian female prisoners. Yeah, as the nature and background of Malaysian female prisoners are different. Yeah, we cannot compare, yeah, female criminals in Malaysia with those from the West because of the cultural differences, because of the religious factors, because of the beliefs factors, as well as geographical and demographic factors. Therefore, the nature of the crime could be different. The modus operandi of the crime could be different. The reasons, the psychological reasons for them to commit crime could be different. So therefore, it is very important for us to look at the profiles of Malaysian female prisoners, because this will be very helpful for us to do comparative studies across the world. Yeah, so it comes to the methodology, and this study that I conducted with my student, Siti Khairina, and together with another colleague of mine, associate professor Dr. Wan Sharazad, we conducted this study using a methodology, using this approach, which is transcendental phenomenological approach. This is purely qualitative study whereby the informant, the subject, the sample, was selected through a purposive sampling method, yeah, from two prisons in Peninsular Malaysia. Why purposive sampling method? Because we are purposely choosing female prisoners who are not aggressive, who are willing to cooperate, and so on. And because they are considered as vulnerable population, or hard to reach population, therefore the selection was done by the prison authority. This study, we came up with few predetermined selection criteria. As I said earlier, the inclusion criteria were non-high risk inmates. Yeah? We couldn't go for the high risk inmates because that will put us, researchers, in danger. And also, the prisoners are not under remand, or in other words, they are convicted. Yeah, they are convicted beyond reasonable doubt. Yeah, and the sample size, there's no predetermined sample size because in qualitative, one of the rules is based on saturation level. As such, interviews were stopped when there is no any emerging themes or no any content from the informers. And based on our in-depth interview, face-to-face, one-to-one, the total number of participants that we recruited in this study was 21 female prisoners. And before that, we developed an open-ended protocol interview, yeah, to facilitate the data collection process, or our interview process. And wherever necessary, we use probing techniques, yeah, so that we can elicit more responses or in-depth responses from the informant. As I said earlier, the interview format was face-to-face and one-to-one, and each interview averaged between 1 to 2 hours. Data was analyzed using interpretative phenomenological analysis because our research design was phenomenology in nature. And we used in-depth interview so that the participants or the informants can give meaning to their experiences. In this case, what made them to involve, how they commit crime, and so on. So these are the interesting findings that I would like to put it in a very simple way. Based on the findings, three main types of crime have been found committed by the informants, by the 21 informants. Basically, mostly they are involved in narcotic, commercial, and violent crime. And in initial slide, in earlier slides, I have mentioned that past literatures from the West suggested that women involved in commercial. In our study, yes, they are involved in commercial, but they also do involve in violent crime. Here, violent crime refers to murders, attempted murder, and robbery, and so on. Yeah. The crime motives were different for each type of crime. This is inconsistent with previous findings. For instance, the motive for commercial crime, of course, for the need for money to support family and basic needs. And for violent crime, yeah, such as murder and attempted murder, it's because of the expression or the expressive motivation, such as due to volatile emotion of, for example, high level of anger and stress. Yeah? The influence of a friend is found to be a motive for drug crime. Yeah? And again, close location was the preferred location for informants to commit their crimes. This is in agreement with previous studies whereby women prefer to commit crime in closed location compared to at public area or at public settings. Yeah, among all three types of crime, as I mentioned just now, violent crimes such as murder and abuse crime have been found to involve the usage of objects as weapons. Here, the informants have stated that there were various non-firearms objects such as telephone wire, ligature, cane, PVC pipe, and knife used as weapon to attack and inflict injuries to the victim. One of the reasons why firearm object or firearm is not used because of the accessibility towards firearm. Here, it is very difficult to obtain license to possess a firearm. Yeah? Therefore, most of the murders in Malaysia were based on sharp weapons and also blunt weapons. Yeah? And almost all the informants have committed crimes in pairs or groups. Yeah? Either with their love partner, friends, working colleagues, or their superior. So, in another word, putting it in another word, we can say that Malaysian female criminals, they do not commit crime individually. Yeah, rather they work in a group, yeah, or at least in a pair. Yeah, I think in this case, peer motivation could be one of the reason or the catalyst for them to engage in criminal activity. And from the psychological viewpoint, negative personality such as narcissistic personality was found within informants, whereby they are feeling very superior, they feel they are great, and so on. So that could be one of the, it is in line with previous studies. Yeah. In addition to narcissistic personality trait, it was found that informants have very low level of self-control, yeah, and also exhibit low level of self-esteem. And informants were experiencing stress in their lives, yeah, in their lives, but it did not lead them to depressive criminal acts, except in the case of 12 informant who abused her children because she was stressed due to a quarrel with her husband. And the parties, the informants are also characterized as aggressive individuals, yeah, especially those who have committed violent crimes. And majority of the informants in this study also exhibited high level of cognitive distortion. This is in line with our with previous studies in the West, cognitive impairment as one of the catalysts for female criminality. Yeah, here majority of the informants do exhibit cognitive distortion. For example, they give justification or they minimize their act so that they don't feel guilty. And additionally, informants also tend to blame the victims for their criminal acts. So blaming others is also a form of cognitive distortion. And for conclusion, we are here. Overall, the study has achieved the objective in exploring the profiles of Malaysian prisoners. Yeah. The finding demonstrated that female prisoners have exhibited two main profiles. One is criminal profile, as I shared just now. They commit crime in a very close setting. They work. They commit crime in a group or at least in a pair. They have different motives and so on. On another aspect, the psychological profile. They are the people with a negative personality, especially narcissistic personality, exhibit high level of aggression and also cognitive distortion. And I'm very sure this study uh, can be used as a reference material for authorities to share, yeah, for them to come up with some policies or for come up with some proactive strategies to hinder, yeah, or to curb female criminality. Here, I would like to take the opportunity to acknowledge and extend our appreciation to Malaysian Prison Department for allowing us to conduct this study among female prisoners.